artist friends. It's time for art. Here we go. Today we are going to take your prints that you made last week, your shaving cream prints, your marker prints, and your bubble prints, and we're going to use those as a background for shadow printing. So what we're going to do is create these beautiful works of art. You can see this has the shaving cream print, and this is created from the bubble print paper, and this work of art is created from the marker print paper. So for this project, you are going to need to take a walk. You can take a walk around your yard. You can take a walk on a nature trail. But when you're walking, you have to pay close attention around you for interesting shapes. What do I mean by that? Look at this. These three, they're actually all connected. These three have a variety of heights. It has an interesting texture. So this would make a really cool shadow. I even found a cocoon, which I think is maybe a sphinx moth. I'm going to save that, but that would make a cool shadow too. Here are some other really neat, they're actually dead plants from last fall, but they make very, very interesting shapes with all these little pieces coming off the edges. So find dead things or very beautiful alive things that are growing right now. It's spring, the trees are blooming. This is a tiny piece off the redbud tree in my yard. It has lots of nice curves, and these delicate little blossoms would make great shadows as well. Also, you could just get a little branch with some leaves on it. These are kind of floppy, but this would make a great shadow too. Or even an evergreen type branch. This one actually has some little tiny baby pine cones on it. That would also make a neat shadow. So after you have your branches or plant, life, dead stuff, live stuff, whatever, after you have your organic material, you need to find something to tape it to so that it is above your paper, creating a shadow. I'll show you what I mean. This is a block with some tape, and all I did was tape this stick with this really kind of wavy, cool, it's a dead leaf, but it's really neat looking, makes a neat shape. All I did was tape it to that. So now when I place my paper under it like this, it creates this beautiful shadow underneath it. So you can do this inside with a bright light, but it works so much better if you go outside. So that's where we're headed. So I'm going to stop the computer, go outside, and we'll pick it up out there. Okay, I think you guys can see, let's see, the shadow. Yep. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is take your paper, and after you tape your item to your block, or you can use a can or whatever item to give you a little bit of height, you're going to just kind of move it around till you get the shape that you like. The flower makes a really nice big shadow on the paper. I think I'm going to do the flower to show you because it's nice and big. So I'm just going to tape it on the block. Again, whatever item you have. And when I put it, maybe I'll turn it this way. Maybe that'll be helpful. It's hard for me to gauge what you're seeing. I think farther away is better. So once it's on there, then I'm just going to take a really ultra fine point Sharpie, black Sharpie. And now that I'm outside, there's a windstorm. So anyway, you're going to take your pen and you position your shadow where you'd like it to be on your paper, think about whatever printed paper you're using. I'm going to use the bubble print for this one. So I'm going to find where is a strong concentration of bubbles that has a lot of nice color. So I really like the blues and the yellows over here. So I'm going to put my flower, I'm actually going to move it up a little bit on the block. I'm going to tape it like this. And then I'm just going to trace around the shadow of the flower. That's really all that I'm doing here. So I'm going to just trace around every edge that I see. And it's just going to be a really loose drawing. And if your hand starts to get in the way, just kind of move it back and figure out where you need to be. You're just tracing around that shadow, all around it, getting all those nice textures. It's kind of scratchy. It's not a real, I don't know. It's not a real specific drawing, real detailed. You're basically just going around the edges. And when you get to the end, okay, this is what I've ended up with. So now I'm going to scoop my flower over. I think I'm going to do another flower. I'm going to move the flower up on the block so I have more stem this time. And I think I'm going to angle it a little bit, give it a little bit of a turn. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go around all the flower, all the little lines, just paying close attention to the lines that the shadows are making. Your eyes might want to say, no, it's a flower petal, it needs to be this shape. But really pay close attention to those interesting angles and curves that your shadow is creating. Okay? So you're going to want to do that all the way around. And again, it doesn't matter which printed paper you're using. You could be using the marker paper, you could use the shaving cream paper, or you could use your bubble print paper. We'll go all the way around here. This just is so much easier to do outside. When you're inside, the light isn't as bright, so it's a little harder to see the shadow. So there we go. I've got two really interesting, full of texture on these edges for these flowers. And now I'm going to go back inside and show you step 3 of this project. Okay, so here we are ready for step 3. Step 1, you gathered all your organic materials. Step 2, you traced your shadows. Now step 3, we are going to paint the space around your shadow print. So because we already did bubbles on here, you already have this really nice bubbly texture inside, or maybe you are using your shaving cream picture or your marker print. Any of those work as well, but since we're using the bubbles, I was just speaking to that. So what you need to do is you need to decide what color you're going to put out here. And we're going to use watercolors. You really want a darker color so that your flowers kind of pop out. Now, if you have a really dark paper, then your paint on the outside is really going to need to be dark. And actually, this probably would work better if you use something that's a little lighter. If you did not do the printing projects last week, you can still do this. This is watercolor. This was just a watercolored paper, and I added the shadow prints on top of it. So the printing techniques that we did last week just laid a foundation for this project. So I'm just going to take my brush and get some water on it. And let's see, I've got red and blues and yellows in here. So I think I'm just going to do a blue around the background. And so I'm just going to wake up my blue. And boys and girls, you don't need a lot of water in this. You need more paint than water. So after you get your paint awake with some water, you can spread a little bit out on your palette. The important thing is that you're going to get some nice pigment on here. So I'm just going to go around these shapes that I have, or these lines that I have drawn on my paper, and I'm just pulling the paint out. And now I'm painting the outside of my picture. And I'm going to come around and I'm going to get all this area here done. Just go around your edges. I put a paintbrush in everyone's take-home bag, so I know everybody has a brush. You're just going to keep adding more pigment to this. The shaving cream feels a little different than the bubble print paper, just because the shaving cream is super soapy. You just want to keep laying down color all the way around your shapes. And think about inside here where this was open and this was a leaf. So I want to leave that like that. Now, as I go around, what's going to happen is my flower is going to start to pop out because the negative space around it is being colored. So since it's darker, it's causing that light shape to pop out. Light colors proceed, that means they go forward, and dark colors recede, which means they go back. So it makes it look like our flower is popping out toward the viewer. So you're just going to come all around. There you go. So you can do this on your driveway just with chalk, making shadows, and you can color around them, or you can use toys instead of plants and do this. There's really, you could trace the shadow of, you guys have probably done this before, trace the shadow of your brother or sister, or maybe somebody traces your shadow on the driveway outside. That is shadow art too. So I'm just working really fast here. This is artist. Remember, there's no prize for finishing first, but Mrs. Heinzelman's trying to work quickly before the timer goes out on the recording. So I want to come around carefully, go around my edges, and then all your strokes you need to be pulling away from the center to the outside edge. That way you don't end up with a lot of crazy streaks. So just pull your paint going out. And I think I've got them done. Yes. So I have a lot of different values of blue going on here. And then where the bubble prints behind the dark colors, the pinker colors, that creates a different value with the blue there too. So this is my lovely shadow print. And if I have a little puddle, I can just pull it down. Okay, so this is what you guys are going to work on this week. I cannot wait to see your work. Goodbye.